The snow was falling gently outside the small town diner. Inside, the sound of clinking dishes and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. It was Christmas Eve, a night when most families were together, sharing laughter, food, and gifts. But not Sarah Miller. Sarah stood behind the counter, wearing her faded red uniform and a tired smile. Her hands moved quickly, pouring coffee, serving pie, taking orders. She had been working since morning, and her shift still had hours to go. Every year, it was the same. While others celebrated, she worked. While others exchanged gifts, she collected tips. Sarah was a single mother. Life hadn't been kind to her, but she was strong. She had to be for her son, Ethan. Ethan was 8 years old, full of questions, full of dreams. He always asked, "Mom, will you be home for Christmas this year?" And every year, Sarah said the same thing. "Next year, sweetheart. I promise." But next year never came. The bell above the diner's door jingled as a couple walked in, shaking snow off their coats. Sarah smiled, even though her feet hurt and her eyes felt heavy. She greeted them kindly, she always did. People liked Sarah because she made everyone feel welcome, even when she was exhausted. Behind her smile, though, her heart ached. She thought of Ethan sitting alone at home, watching Christmas movies, maybe eating leftovers from last night's dinner. She had told him to open one gift before she got home, a small toy car she managed to buy after saving tips all month. It wasn't much, but to Sarah, it was everything she could give. Every time she wiped the counter, she saw her reflection in the glass, a woman who looked older than her age, with tired eyes but a strong heart. Her co-worker, Linda, walked over and said softly, "Sarah, you should go home. It's Christmas Eve." Sarah shook her head with a small smile. "I can't, Linda. I need the extra hours. Rent's due next week." Linda sighed. "You work every holiday. Don't you ever get tired?" Sarah looked toward the window, watching the snow. "Of course I do. But I'll rest when life lets me." Hours passed. The clock ticked toward midnight. The diner slowly emptied until only one old man remained, sipping coffee near the window. Christmas songs played softly from the small radio behind the counter. Sarah hummed along, her voice quiet but warm. She remembered when Ethan was little, how he used to sing along with her while decorating their tiny Christmas tree. She remembered his laughter, his messy hands covered in cookie dough. Now, that laughter echoed only in her memory. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small photo, her favorite picture of Ethan. He was 5 in that picture, missing 2 front teeth, smiling proudly while holding a snowman he had built. She smiled sadly and whispered, "I hope you're sleeping, baby." A customer's voice broke her thoughts. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I get a refill?" Sarah blinked, quickly tucking the photo back in her pocket. "Of course," she said with a polite smile. She filled his cup, took the empty plates, and kept moving. That's what she always did, she kept moving. Because if she stopped, she might start crying, and she didn't have time for tears. When the customer left, she finally sat down for a short break. Her feet throbbed, and her back ached. She took a sip of cold coffee and sighed. The neon sign outside flickered open 24 hours. It reminded her how her life felt always open, never resting. Back at home, Ethan sat near the small Christmas tree. The lights blinked softly. There were only 2 presents underneath, one for his mom, one for him. He looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. He tried to stay awake, hoping to see his mom come through the door. He imagined her smiling, hugging him, and sitting together to open gifts. But the hours passed, and the only sound was the ticking clock. Finally, he whispered to himself, "Maybe next year." He curled up on the couch and fell asleep, the glow of the Christmas tree reflecting in his eyes. At the diner, Sarah looked at the same clock. Midnight. Another Christmas passed behind the counter. She leaned her head on her hand, tired and quiet. Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the streets like a white blanket. She closed her eyes for a moment and whispered, "Next year, Ethan. Next year, I'll be there." But deep down, she wasn't sure if that would ever happen. The bell above the door jingled again, but this time, no one entered. It was just the wind pushing against the door. Sarah smiled faintly and got up to clean one last table. She stacked plates, wiped the counter, and turned off the coffee pot. When she stepped outside, the cold air hit her face. The town was quiet, peaceful, glowing with Christmas lights. She pulled her coat tighter and looked up at the night sky. Snowflakes landed softly on her cheeks. She whispered, "Merry Christmas, my boy," and walked home through the empty streets, unaware that years later, on this very night, that same diner door would open again. And her life would never be the same. The years passed slowly for Sarah Miller, but fast for her son, Ethan. Life had a way of moving forward, even when it felt like nothing was changing. Sarah continued working long hours at the diner, year after year. She worked mornings, afternoons, evenings, holidays, weekends, every day. Her body was tired, her hands rough, but her heart stayed strong. All she wanted was a better life for Ethan. Ethan grew taller, older, smarter. He learned to tie his shoes, ride his bike, read his first book, all while Sarah was at work. She celebrated from a distance, sending small gifts, cards, and hugs that often came too late. "Mom, I missed you at my soccer game," Ethan said one day, holding back tears. "I know, baby. I'm so sorry," Sarah replied. Her voice was soft but full of love. "I'm doing this for us, to make sure we're safe and happy." Ethan nodded but didn't fully understand. Kids often forgive quickly, but inside, he felt the loneliness that came from missing his mother. As the years went by, Sarah tried to make up for lost time in little ways. She left notes in Ethan's lunchbox. "Have fun today. Love, Mom." She sent him cards for birthdays she couldn't attend. She bought him small gifts with the money she saved after long shifts. Every time she handed him something, she hoped it would show how much she cared. Yet, no matter what she did, she couldn't be there for the big moments, the ones that mattered most. Ethan's first school play came and went. His first baseball game. His 8th birthday. His first heartbreak. Sarah missed them all. Each time, her heart ached, but she told herself, "I'm doing this for him. One day, he'll understand." High school arrived, and Ethan's life became busier. Homework, friends, sports, and after-school activities filled his days. Sarah watched him grow from the diner window, wishing she could do more than wave as he passed by on his way to school. She often stayed late cleaning tables or counting tips, wondering if she was making a mistake. Was all this work really worth it? Her friends would ask. "Sarah, when will you rest? When will you live your life?" She would smile and shake her head. "I'll rest when Ethan is safe. When he's happy." Despite the challenges, there were moments that made her smile. She found an old drawing Ethan made when he was 10. He had drawn a picture of the two of them under a Christmas tree, holding hands, smiling. He had written, "My mom is my hero." Tears filled her eyes as she stared at the paper. She kept it in her apron pocket, carrying it with her every day. It reminded her why she worked so hard, why she sacrificed everything. Some nights, she would sit alone in the diner after closing, sipping coffee and staring out the window. She thought about Ethan's future, what kind of man he would become, whether he would be happy, whether he would forgive her for missing so much. "I hope he knows I tried," she whispered to the empty room. College came, and Ethan left home. He was excited for this new chapter, ready to explore the world beyond their small town. Sarah hugged him tightly at the airport, her eyes wet with tears. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Thanks, Mom. I'll call you," Ethan replied, smiling, though there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. The house felt empty after he left. The Christmas tree stayed undecorated that year, and Sarah spent the holidays at the diner, cleaning tables and serving coffee to strangers. She kept Ethan's old drawings on the fridge, reminders of the boy she raised with love and sacrifice. One cold evening, as Sarah wiped down the counter, she found a small, folded note tucked under a jar of sugar. It read, "Mom, I love you. I know you work hard. I hope you see that I'm okay. Ethan." She held it close to her chest and let the tears fall. Years of loneliness, worry, and sacrifice poured out in that moment. She had done her best, even when it didn't feel like enough. She whispered, "I hope he knows. I never wanted to miss a thing." By the time Ethan graduated from college, Sarah was older, her hair streaked with gray, her hands rough from years of work. She had lived a life of sacrifice, giving every moment she could to her son. She wondered if she had done enough. If he would ever forgive her for all the Christmases, birthdays, and small moments she missed. Yet deep down, she never gave up hope. Hope that one day, Ethan would show her that the love she gave from a distance was never wasted. That the years apart didn't mean she had failed. And somewhere in the quiet of her heart, she believed that Christmas, the one she had waited for all her life, might finally bring her the surprise she never expected. The diner smelled like coffee and pie, just as it had for decades. But tonight, on Christmas Eve, it felt emptier than usual. Sarah Miller wiped down the counter, her hands moving automatically. She had done this 1,000 times before. She knew every corner of the diner, every stain on the floor, every creak in the wooden chairs. Still, tonight felt different. The small town outside was quiet. Snow covered the streets, turning everything into a soft, white blanket. Street lights reflected off the snow, making the world look peaceful, almost magical. But inside, Sarah felt a deep ache. At 45 years old, Sarah had worked every Christmas for decades. Her co-workers had long gone home to their families, but Sarah stayed. She told herself the diner needed her, but really, she stayed because she didn't know how to stop. She poured herself a cup of coffee, sitting in the corner booth for a moment. Her eyes wandered to the window, watching the snow fall. She thought about all the Christmases she had missed with Ethan: birthdays, school plays, late-night talks, first dates she would never hear about. A soft sigh escaped her lips. "I hope he's happy," she whispered. The diner was almost empty when the door jingled. Sarah looked up, surprised at this hour. She didn't expect anyone. A man in a long coat stepped inside, brushing snow from his shoulders. He carried a small package in his hands. Her heart skipped a beat. For a moment, she thought she imagined it. "Excuse me," the man said softly. Sarah squinted through the dim light. She froze. That voice, it was familiar. Too familiar. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. The man smiled, and tears glimmered in his eyes. "Hi, Mom," he said. Her heart raced. Years of worry, loneliness, and hard work came rushing back all at once. She wanted to run to him, to hold him, to make up for all the lost time. Ethan walked slowly toward her, holding the small package carefully. Sarah stood up, her hands shaking. She couldn't speak. She could only stare at the young man before her, the boy she had raised, the man he had become. Finally, she found her voice. I can't believe it, you're here." Ethan laughed softly, though it was a little choked with emotion. "I promised I'd come. I know you've worked every Christmas, every single one. I wanted to change that, at least this year. He handed her the small package. Sarah opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a locket. She picked it up, turning it over in her hands. When she opened it, she saw a tiny photo of Ethan as a boy, smiling under a Christmas tree. Next to it was a small note. For every Christmas you worked, Mom, I kept a memory. So we can celebrate together now. Tears ran down Sarah's cheeks. She couldn't speak. Her hands shook as she held the locket close. Ethan sat across from her at the booth, gently taking her hand. I know you missed so many things. But Mom, you gave me the best gift. You gave me love. And I've saved all these memories for you. Sarah looked at him, overwhelmed. All the years of sacrifice, loneliness, and hard work felt worth it for this moment. She had done everything for him, and now, he was showing her that he understood. I thought I lost those years, she said, her voice breaking. You didn't, Mom. You gave them to me, Ethan replied, smiling. For the first time in years, Sarah felt truly seen. Truly loved. The diner, the snow, the cold night outside, none of it mattered. All that mattered was this moment. They sat together, holding hands, smiling through tears. The world outside felt magical, but inside, it was even more beautiful. For the first time in decades, Sarah felt like she was finally home. The bell above the door jingled again, but this time, it didn't bring strangers. It was a small reminder life had a way of giving back what it took. And tonight, it had returned something Sarah thought she had lost forever. She hugged Ethan tightly. Merry Christmas, my boy, she whispered. Ethan hugged her back. Merry Christmas, Mom, he said. For the first time in a long time, the diner was filled with warmth, laughter, and the kind of love that makes Christmas truly magical. And Sarah knew, as snow fell outside and lights twinkled inside, that life had a way of making up for the years she had given to work, sacrifice, and worry. This Christmas was hers. Finally. The diner was quiet now, but Sarah's heart was racing. She could still feel the warmth from the hug she had just shared with Ethan. For years, she had wondered if all her sacrifices were worth it. Now, she was about to find out. Ethan pulled the small package closer. It was carefully wrapped in simple brown paper, tied with a red ribbon. Mom, he said softly, this is for you. Something I've been keeping for a long time. Sarah hesitated for a moment, unsure what to expect. She had learned over the years that surprises could be painful reminders of all she had missed. But something in Ethan's eyes told her this was different. Open it, he encouraged. Her hands trembled as she untied the ribbon and lifted the paper. Inside was a small box. She opened it slowly and gasped. Inside the box were old photographs, notes, and tiny keepsakes. Each one was a memory she thought she had lost forever. The first photo showed Ethan at his first school play. He was standing on stage, dressed as a tiny knight, grinning from ear to ear. She had missed the play, sitting at the diner instead, wiping tables and pouring coffee. Now, she held the photo in her hands, tears filling her eyes. Next, she found a small birthday card she had never received. It read, "Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. From Ethan." Even though she had been absent, Ethan had made sure she still received a piece of the day, keeping her close in his heart. One by one, Sarah lifted photo after photo, note after note. A tiny ribbon from her son's first Christmas tree. A drawing he had made of them together on his birthday. A ticket stub from a movie he had gone to without her, with a note. Mom, I wanted you to see this memory too. Sarah's hands shook as she realized what Ethan had done. Every memory she had missed, every moment she had worked instead of being there, he had collected for her. He had saved them. For her. I can't believe this, she whispered. Ethan smiled, though his eyes were wet with tears. Mom, you gave me the best gift a child can have. You worked so hard for me. You gave me love, even when you weren't there. I wanted to give something back. Sarah reached across the table and took his hands in hers. You didn't have to do this, she said, her voice breaking. I missed so much, birthdays, holidays, little moments. I thought I failed you. Ethan shook his head, smiling through his tears. No, Mom. You never failed. You gave me everything I needed. I just wanted you to see it. For the first time, Sarah realized that love wasn't measured by presence alone. It was measured by care, sacrifice, and the bond they shared, even across years of distance and loneliness. She picked up a small locket from the box. Inside was a photo of the two of them together when Ethan was small, holding hands under their tiny Christmas tree. I kept this for you, Mom, Ethan said softly. Every Christmas you worked, I saved a memory. So tonight, we can finally celebrate together. Sarah could barely speak. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged Ethan tightly. She pressed the locket to her chest, feeling the weight of love and memories she had thought were lost. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. I'm proud of you too, Mom, Ethan replied. For hours, they sat together in the diner, looking through the memories he had collected. They laughed, they cried, they remembered. Each photograph, each note, each small gift told a story of love that had endured through time and distance. The diner, once quiet and empty, now felt warm and alive. It wasn't just the coffee or the lights or the snow outside. It was the presence of love, the kind that makes everything else fade away. I never thought I'd see this, Sarah said, holding Ethan's hand. Neither did I, he replied. But it's here. All for you. The night passed slowly, filled with stories, memories, and laughter. For Sarah, it was a Christmas she would never forget, the Christmas her son gave back the love she had poured into him for decades. And in that moment, she understood something she had long forgotten. Love always finds its way back. The snow outside fell gently, covering the streets of the small town in a soft white blanket. Inside the diner, a warm glow filled the air. But for Sarah Miller, the warmth wasn't coming from the lights or the coffee, it was coming from her son, Ethan, sitting across from her with a smile she had waited years to see. For decades, Sarah had worked every holiday. She had missed birthdays, school plays, late-night talks, and small moments she would never get back. She had believed that working hard was the way to show love, that sacrificing herself was what made life better for her son. Tonight, she understood something she hadn't realized all those years: love wasn't about being busy or always present. Love was in the care, the effort, and the memories shared, even if they were collected from afar. Ethan reached across the table, holding her hands. Mom, from now on, holidays are for us, he said softly. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She nodded, unable to speak. The years of guilt, the worry, the long lonely nights, they all melted away in that moment. The diner had always been her second home, but tonight, it felt like a true home. A home filled with laughter, love, and memories, both old and new. I finally feel like I'm home, Sarah whispered. Ethan smiled. You've been home all along, Mom. You just didn't know it yet. They sat together, opening the small gifts Ethan had collected over the years. Each one was a story, a memory, a piece of love saved carefully just for her. There were photographs of Ethan's first steps, his first day at school, his childhood birthdays, moments she had missed, now shared in a single box. There were notes he had written, drawings he had made, and small keepsakes that told a story of a boy who never forgot his mother, even when she couldn't be there. I thought I lost those years, Sarah said, her voice breaking. You didn't, Mom, Ethan replied gently. You gave them to me. and now I can give them back to you." Sarah hugged him tightly, holding him as if she could make up for all the lost time. Tears streamed down her face, but for the first time in years, they were tears of joy. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan," she whispered. "I'm proud of you too, Mom," he said. Hours passed as they laughed, cried, and remembered. They shared stories, looking through the photographs and notes, feeling the love that had carried them through the years. For Sarah, this Christmas was different. It was full of warmth, connection, and the feeling of being truly home. The diner, once quiet and empty on Christmas Eve, now felt alive. The smell of coffee, the soft glow of the lights, and the sound of snowflakes hitting the windows could not compare to the love that filled the room. Sarah realized that all those years of sacrifice had led to this moment, a moment of pure connection, love, and understanding. "I've waited so long for this," Sarah whispered, tears still glistening in her eyes. "And it's finally here," Ethan replied. As the night grew late, Sarah looked around the diner. For the first time, she felt peace. She didn't have to rush, she didn't have to worry, she didn't have to work every holiday. Tonight, she was with her son. Tonight, she was home. The next morning, Sarah made a decision. She closed the diner early for Christmas, something she had never done before. It felt strange at first, leaving the place that had been her life for so long. But she knew it was the right choice. Ethan helped her hang small ornaments on their own Christmas tree at home. They laughed as they decorated, remembering old Christmases and making new memories. "From now on," Sarah said, smiling through tears, "we celebrate together. No more working every holiday." Ethan nodded, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "Exactly, Mom. From now on, it's just us." That Christmas, Sarah finally understood the true meaning of family, sacrifice, and love. She had given everything she could for her son, and he had returned it tenfold in memories, love, and connection. As snow continued to fall outside, Sarah looked at Ethan and whispered, "I'm finally home." And in that moment, surrounded by love and warmth, she knew it was true. No amount of work, no long years, could ever replace this feeling, the feeling of being with her son, sharing Christmas, and knowing that love had finally come full circle.